Hi, this is Beata from Splitcoaststampers. In this video I want to show you how to color with distress inks with the pads as well as the reinkers and a watercolor brush, an empty one. The stamps are from Flourishes, from a set called With Gratitude, and the paper is from My Mind's Eye, the Lost and Found paper collection. First you will need to stamp your image on watercolor paper. I already did that with jet black archival ink. Then I'm no expert in this technique, but Yvonne Hagan just wrote a beautiful photo tutorial for Splitcoaststampers, and I'm following her instructions. She started by coloring the background. Now when I use light colors, I'm okay with using the reinkers. If I use dark colors, they just come off too dark, and I like to use the ink pad for that. I'll show you in a minute. So I just add a drop of reinker on my craft mat, or you can use your acrylic block or any other non-porous surface, and just dilute it with water and just add a really light background so it doesn't look like your image floats in the center of your paper. Just gives it a little bit more depth. And it's easier when you add the background in the beginning, because it's okay if you go over the leaves a little bit, because you're going to add another color and that will push it away. And if you do it while you already have your petals colored, then that color might run into your background. So start with the background just really lightly. Well, you could make it darker if you wanted to. I like it soft. I don't know about you, but I like to paint away for me. It's probably because I color with Copics like that. I flick the ink out. And if you have it that's a little bit darker, you can just add more water and blend that out. I don't want to fiddle too long with that, because that gets really boring for you. So once you added the background and you like it, you stop, and I just heat set it really quick to make sure it's dry. So I can move on to the next color. I just wipe my first color away with a rag. You can use a paper towel. And then clean my brush, a little water on my rag, and then press down my ink pad for my first color, which is mustard seeds. It's a real yellow, bright yellow. And I start lightly, because you can always add more color. And I'm not going to color the entire image. I'm just going to color. Actually, I should show it on the bigger one, because you can see the shading better there. So I'm going to just start with adding the first color lightly, the lightest color. And I always start where I want the image to be the darkest, which would be at the bottom of the petal, or at the close to the center of the flower. And you can leave some white. White highlights are nice. That's where the sun. So when I have the first layer down and it's dry, you can come back with more reinker, less water for your second layer, and you already get a slight shading of your flower. I like flourishes stamps because the designer already added more dark. You can see where she wants you to add shading. Okay, once you're done with that color, clean it off. You could use, if you use reinkers, just use a small palette. So you can buy a plastic palette, and you could keep that ink. Clean the brush just a little bit, but it's a darker color, so it's not that bad if you leave some on there. Again, heat it to make sure it's dry. You don't have to do that, you could wait, but for a crisper look, I like to have my colors dry before I add the next one. So now I'm adding a little bit of wild honey, and then even darker, some spice marmalade. I always add a little bit less, so it looks like my flower faded out. Now, when there are harsh lines that you want to soften a little bit, come in with a clean brush. Let me clean my brush real quick. Clean, wet brush, and just go over the edges to soften those lines. You don't have to do that, but if you think it's too harsh from one color to the next, you can do that to soften them. Then for the flower center, I first used Vintage Photo. And I even used some of that on the leaves. Just make them a little bit more dark. And then dry it again, because I can see it's really wet. And then add some walnut stain. It's really dark brown to my image. And again, if you want to soften it, you can go over it with your wet brush and blend those colors a little bit together. With the green, it will be the same thing, the stem. Just start with the lighter color, and for me that's bundled sage. And as with the tumbled glass, if it's that light, I like to use the reinker. Just get some water. I'll show you on this leaf here, you can see it better. And it's okay if your color runs a little bit, since it is a watercolor image. And then you can even shade with, like we did with the yellow first. You can just add more reinker the second time for a darker look, or add a second color to make it even darker. For that I use peel paint. Just like with Copics, the secret to get a shaded look is really layering your different colors on top of each other. Though I find Copics easier than this. And then you finish coloring and use the image on your card. I hope you try it out. It's a fun way to feel creative. See you next time.